Welcome back, investors, to the Investing with Our YouTube channel for another video. If you're new to the channel, I am a UK-based investor focusing mainly on US stocks, and I started the portfolio I will be showing you today in April 2021. I am fortunate enough to have gone past the golden milestone having a 100k portfolio, and I'll be showing you the ups and possibly more importantly the downs of my investing journey. This includes the buys, the sales, and the dividend income I receive. So if you're a returning viewer, smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe so you can follow my journey. Now, let's get into it. Today's video is going to be summarizing the last week of November, and it has been a very good one, which makes a great change because we've had about 3 weeks of the portfolio being solidly in the red. So we ended last week on 127,555, and we end this week on 136,215 for an £8,659 gain, which equates to 6.7%. That is absolutely massive. Now, if you watched the video last week, you would know that the main reason for this is that the likelihood of a rate cut coming in December has really pushed up. So about 2 weeks ago, it was at about 40%, and the market kept dropping. And I wrote on my Substack, maybe we saw an extended session of red even after Nvidia's strong earnings, as the market wanted to increase pressure on the Fed to cut rates. And as we saw at that time, the probability was under 40%, and then it moved up to 70%. If we look at the current standing, we see there's an 86.4% chance that the cut is coming. So it's pretty much a more or less sure thing now, and that's why you saw such a big gain within the markets, as money sitting on the sidelines has started to pour in now. Now, as you can imagine, with a move as big as this, almost 7% within 1 week, a lot of companies would have done well. One of the big ones was Google. Now, the headline is Google stock soars to all-time highs on Nvidia chip comparison. And the main news was Google shares rose 2.1% after reports that Meta is in advanced talks to spend billions on Google's TPU chips instead of Nvidia's GPUs. Google TPUs are 2 times cheaper than Nvidia for a standard 9,000 chip rack configurations. Nvidia lost roughly $250 billion in market value as Wall Street recognized TPUs as a legitimate alternative. So great news for Google, not such great news for Nvidia, but I don't think this is such a big headwind for Nvidia, as Jensen Huang in its last earnings call said that the demand for their GPUs is still really strong and they can't keep up with it. In fact, I think this is actually good for the market because you now have another competitor. I don't want to get into the technicalities of it, but I don't think TPUs will replace the demand for GPUs actually. But it's good that there's some level of competition within the market and it's not just on Nvidia, and there are other players to try to ensure that this bubble that people talk about doesn't actually happen. So off the back of that, and I wrote on my Substack where I make more regular updates about what I'm doing within my portfolio, I trimmed 5 shares in Google for a £566 profit. And as you can see here, this is the sale. I sold about £1,208 worth of Google stock, and I couldn't resist putting it into this one, which is Meta. Now, Meta at current levels, I think, is a very solid buy. Price is really important in terms of how attractive a stock is. And this company dropped off the back of there being a large tax payment, which they incurred. But otherwise, their numbers were very solid in their last earnings. And off the back of that, I decided to buy some more. Meta stock popped. So I average about $610 per share on this, and it's already moved up to about close to $650. So that was good. Now, going back to Nvidia stock, I made a post and I wrote, Nvidia starting to look decent at these levels. If it keeps dropping, it will be a solid buy with the guidance given for the next quarter. If we look at the current share price of Nvidia at 177, if it drops any further to around 165, it becomes a very solid buy. I think it's a good buy even at this levels actually. And there might be a situation where I trim some more Google stock just to lock in those profits to buy some Nvidia because it's starting to look very attractive. Now, another piece of news for my second largest holding, And a stock that I'm very bullish on is Robinhood. So it surged 10.9% on prediction markets expansion. So in an announcement, Robinhood said that it joined forces with Susquehanna to launch and operates a commodity futures trading commission license exchange and clearinghouse to capture and serve the strong demand in the prediction markets. Hood said that the prediction markets have quickly become its fastest growing product line by revenue just a year after it was launched. In fact, some 9 billion contracts have already been traded by more than 1 million customers. So this is a very big potential revenue stream for Robinhood. And this particular segment of the financial markets is predicted to grow to a big total addressable market. So this is another reason why I'm bullish on this stock. If you look overall, the stock popped almost 20% last week and it's currently touching $130. My average share price is 112, and hopefully we should see this really pushing towards all-time highs soon. Now, if you like the visibility on some of the moves I intend to make or some of the things that I'm seeing in the market, which is quite interesting, then follow my Substack and then you'll be able to see those updates. If you scan this QR code or copy this link, you should be able to get there. Now, while you're there, please give this video a like so more people can see it and motivate me to do more of these updates because it really helps the channel grow. Now, as you can imagine, with a week where we are up 6.7%, a lot of companies did well. So a big shout out to Oscar, where I wrote on my Substack, huge news for Oscar shareholders as murmurs of an ACA extension are starting to surface. Oscar up over 15% already in pre-market trading. So this was early Sunday morning actually. So up almost 35% for the week. Other notables are BM&R, which is really quite important because it was one that was struggling within my portfolio. With Ethereum bouncing, this is starting to recover now. I've mentioned Hood already, also Broadcom. In fact, a quick shout out to Broadcom. This has been one of the biggest performers within the portfolio, and you don't hear too much said about this stock, and it just absolutely smashing it. Look, it's up over 100% within my portfolio. If you look at this year's performance, it's up almost 150% as it goes past $400 a share. And if you look at this overall chart, this is absolutely phenomenal. This is Nvidia levels. In fact, it's actually beating Nvidia within my portfolio currently, and it just quietly but solidly just completely performs. One of the best semiconductor stocks out there actually. And there's various others. In fact, the only two losing positions were actually Nvidia. That was mainly because of the Google news. And as mentioned earlier, if it goes a little bit lower, and even now, it might still be a solid buy because this is definitely a $200 plus stock. So yeah, really solid week. If we go back to the portfolio, as you can see, we are up over £35,000 on the portfolio since I started it. And hopefully now you can see this dip recovering, and hopefully the portfolio is going to start hitting all-time highs. Now, if we have a quick look at the overall positions, as you can see, a lot of green. Google getting close to 90% in terms of gains, and at one point did go past £10,000 in terms of profit, which was my first stock to do that. And as you can see, still a lot of green. Robinhood doing well off the back of the prediction market news. Meta with a solid week as well, just under 10% in gains. So my recent buy already starting to pay off. Imperial up 78%. Visa up almost 9%. Broadcom, as I mentioned, the best performing stock within my portfolio currently at over 100%. MasterCard with the holiday season and Christmas spending should have a good next quarter. MSFT up 25%. Tesla up almost 100%. Nvidia, even with the TPU news and a slight sell-off, up 60%. Carnival up 75%. Oscar recovering to be now in the green, up 11%. UNH had an okay week. Amazon up 22%. IREN had a decent week, up just over 12%. And hopefully we see this one recovering. Grab down 7% overall. HIMS down 30%. BM&R having a good week but still down 40%. Centrica up 53%. Costco up 14%. Apple up 42%. ASML up 26% and KLA up 40%. So that's it for the portfolio update. It's nice to see green again. Hopefully this is now the start of a solid recovery and we see all-time highs on the portfolio, which is 142,000. And thank you for joining me on this video, and I'll see you on the next one.